The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
What time is it?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Undisputed Era has arrived.
You have the 25 days of Christmas. Impact's going to have the 25 days of releases.
I send it you to deletion! Yeah!
It's hashtag Alpha versus Omega.
Let's just say hashtag aroused.
No, you're going to step in that ring, and you're going to be looking at me eye to eye, and you're going to realize you ain't got a chance.
Thank God we don't have to talk about it anymore, because she got that cancer out of there.
Sean stole my answer. I'm just glad we don't have to talk about this anymore.
And that's not an insult. That is just a fact of life. This was a team effort. We get along professionally, and if I do say personally, I mean, she's kind of cute.
Well, Braun, I think you're kind of cute, too. I can just say this, though, Braun. We're going all the way. All the way to a victory in the Mixed Match Challenge.
Ladies and gentlemen, wrestling to the mat.
And your hosts, Gary Vaughan, Sean Garmer, and Paul Leazar.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another great episode of Wrestling to the Max. This is episode 284, part 2. And, of course, I am your host, Gary Vaughan. Along with me is Mr. Sean Garmer.
What's up, everybody?
And Mr. Paul Leazar.
Hey-o.
And, boys, I love that whole little thing between Alexa Bliss and Braun Strowman. That was just too funny. I can't lie. When I got a chance to watch that, I said, that's got to be on the intro of this episode. So, just imagining those two, though, actually in a relationship, my God, I mean, that would be the scariest thing, right? I mean, someone's so tiny and someone so big. I mean, it doesn't compute in a way.
Oh, God.
They'd be going all the way to the emergency room, Gary.
Yeah.
I'd imagine that sex only happens one way. Usually.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's wow. So anyway, as much as we'd love to picture that, well, let's move on to actually, talking about what's on this episode. Let's talk about.
You started it.
I know, guys. What do you expect with me into the show? Let's talk about the fact that we are going to have some great things to get into this week. We've got some quick hits that are going to be a ton of fun because there were some surprises this week, along with some other interesting news when it comes to injuries in the world of wrestling. We're also going to be jumping into some new beginnings talk. Paul got a chance to watch the shows. Sean and I have not yet got a chance to watch the shows, but at least Paul has all the info for you. He's going to break it down, give you his opinions, everything he thinks about those shows, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Sean and him are going to kind of break that thing down. Also, we are going to be talking some Impact Wrestling later on in this show and crowning a Superstar of the Week, along with Match of the Month and Superstar of the Month. So we've got a lot of things to get into. I am super excited about this show, like I am every week. And hey, if you want to come and listen to us every week, if this may be your first time listening, or you've heard us just a couple of times, well, make sure you go check us out on W2Mnet.com. Please do that, because That's where you can find every single thing we do, along with all of our other friends and our other great podcasts on the Wrestling to the Max network, which is the W2M network. Make sure you go find that. Of course, that's everything over there on the W2Mnet.com. And make sure you go subscribe, rate, and review over at Wrestling to the Max or the W2M network, whatever one you choose. Just hit that subscribe button. Also, rate and review while you're over there. And also, hey, hit up Partners in Crime up on 411mania.com and lastwordonprowrestling.com. They have a lot of great content as well. They support us. Let's go support those guys too. Well, why delay this great news? I just want to congratulate Sean. You just got a new job, man, and I know you've been looking for one. That's great. I'm so stoked that you've got something so soon. That's gonna be really cool, man.
Yeah, probably by the time I start, or at least start training, I'll have been unemployed only for 2 whole months, so that's pretty decent. Some people have to wait a lot longer than that.
Mm-hmm.
I still gotta, as long as for some reason they don't want to kill me for something that happened 7 years ago at this point, I should have it locked up, but I don't want to jinx myself at all. Still got to go for the background check, fingerprinting, and I do the piss test and all that tomorrow. So gotta wait for all the official stuff, but should be cool.
Yeah. Well, if you need, someone to overnight you a piss test, Paul will be glad to do that for you. So
super clean, never done drugs in my life.
Yep. So I haven't either, but I just want to make sure it's really clean. So
I don't want.
You never know.
I don't want to ask. Let's just move on. I don't want to ask.
Bambino asked, but I won't get into that. I'll just say this, sometimes you eat poppy seeds and things, so it is what it is.
That's true. That's true.
But anyway, enough about
Naya came in here, and Bambino had to let her know that he knew she was in here.
He's like, what's up? And she's like, oh, recording going on. That's what my daughter always does. Anytime I'm on the laptop, she goes, Daddy, are you recording? I'm like, oh, no, I'm just on here working on something. You're cool. Don't worry. So,
yeah. Anaya knows to come in quietly, but Bambino does not care at all.
Yeah.
So.
The dogs are usually very uncaring. They're usually pretty selfish. So, yeah. But, it's going to be a great deal, man. I'm really stoked that, you've got things in motion for a new job, Sean, and things are going well for you. And, Paul, anything going on in your world? Anything cool you're going to be doing in the near future?
No, I'm super boring, Gary, but thanks for the weekly reminder.
Oh, boring. It's just it's see the thing is that Paul has a secret life he doesn't tell anyone about. It's just it's amazing. And hey, I'll be honest with you, Sean. I mean, every time I get a text here now and again, I'm so jealous of Paul. He gets to go do all these great things, all these cool adventures. He got to go to San Antonio not long ago to go to some wrestling shows. He gets to go to the Stars games. As I sit here in front of my TV and get to watch maybe a quarter of it, So I'm just very jelly of Paul, but he has a secret life he doesn't tell us about. So we'll leave it at that, right?
Hey, let him live his not having kids life and all that the way he wants. Because, when he gets like us and you have way less things you get to do, then it'll really become boring. So,
yeah. So you're not as boring, Paul. It's just the fact that you haven't reached what we're doing. That's called being an old man. So
not the old man part. I just don't have the kids to go along with it.
Yeah. Well, that'll come in time. But enjoy it. Enjoy not having it. So, but anyway, guys, well, we're here to talk wrestling. So why don't we do it? Let's go ahead and jump into some of those great quick hits this week.
It's time for wrestling news. Quick hits.
Fire away, Gary.
Well, let's start by talking about the thing that shocked the pants off me, and it almost did, literally. I was at work, and, getting close to the end of my day, and then I get a text from Sean, and Sean blatantly says, guess what, guys? Jeremy Borash is now a part of the WB. He signed on. That was the biggest news that surprised me of the week. I never really honestly thought that was going to happen. I really Never even considered it. I thought that guy would have been Impact for life. Well, nope, not now. And he is now working for the WWE. Of course, Impact has a delay on all their taping, so we'll be seeing Jeremy Borash for a little while longer, kind of like EC3 and Bobby Lashley, but probably not much longer. It's crazy to me, Sean. I never expected Jeremy Borash to be in WWE.
No, I did not expect that either. It's insane to me that it feels like, man, how close are we to counting that final death of Impact now? Like, you got Jeremy Borash to leave. I mean, who's left at this point? Lashley's probably leaving. EC3's left. Paul's getting ready to get in those limo rides to NXT. And, freaking the guy that's been there forever leaves. I mean, just how cool is it for NXT to get a really experienced guy like that? And if he finally, I don't know what he's going to be doing. I guess he's backstage announcing or whatever, because the commentary booth's kind of full at the moment. But I guess if Percy Watson or Heavy, if Nigel gets sick again, he could fill in.
Yeah, I think there's all that, and I mean, he's not only a great, on-screen announcer. I think as far as doing ring intros and all that, I don't know if I'm sold on him doing commentary, but this is a guy that has a lot of experience doing a whole bunch of other jobs, backstage as well, the stuff you don't get to see, show planning, all that great stuff. He did so much of that for Impact, too. It's just a really versatile hire for WWE and NXT. And, I mean, this is a guy who had been with Impact since day one. He's at the door. So, I mean, whatever they're doing with Canada, because they're seemingly half in, half out on that whole deal, I don't know. But, they're losing a lot of the big people, and now they're losing people who have a lot of tenure with the company, too. So, it's got to make you a little nervous, or maybe as nervous as you can get these days about Impact, even though they seemingly just won't die, much like Matt Hardy from 2004.
Yeah, they really are the radioactive cockroach in this whole scenario. And, as much as a part as he was of that company, like you said, Paul, all that backstage stuff that no one ever gets a chance to see, he was a really integral part of getting things done, really helping them along. And it just really does scream danger to you when a guy that's that loyal to your company decides to pick up and go. It has to send alarm bells off. But who knows? Maybe they have this already in the plans for the fact that they may be cost cutting. Jeremy Borash may be asking for more money, or maybe the salary that they're already giving him is kind of where they don't want to be. Maybe they want to get a little cheaper on that, so they allowed him to just take off. And there's many scenarios where we could sit here and debate on, how and why he left. But what you kind of alluded to earlier is the fact that this guy can do so many things backstage. I think that's a big part of this for WWE. But I think that another interesting fact of this is we know that he worked so integrally with the Hardys on the whole broken gimmick and, of course, all that stuff when they were doing all their tapings at the Hardy compound and all that, that it makes you wonder how much of an influence the Hardys had with WWE to get this done, to have him come over and maybe, include him in some of that creative that they're doing for right now, the Woken Matt Hardy gimmick. And when Jeff eventually joins in this whole game, it makes you wonder about that. So I think it's a great pickup for WWE for sure. I think they picked up a quality guy, but not only that, they take away a really quality guy from a promotion that's just trying to stay around. Who knows? I don't want to say that Impact is going to fail because they lost Jeremy Borash, but man, I'm sure it's a big hit.
I mean, I think it's one they're probably going to feel for a long time too. Just because, like we said, he did so much, I think, for that company, and whatever restructuring and all this they're doing with Anthem and everything, it's scaring a lot of people away. And like you said, Gary, this is one guy who you thought was going to be there forever, and 15 years on, he's gone. He's out the door. He's getting paid bigger bucks, essentially, I'm going to assume.
Yeah. What do you think is going to happen with maybe? I'm just kind of throwing things out there now that Borash has left and leaves that void. They still got Jimmy Jacobs, who's joined up over there, and he can definitely help them creatively and maybe pick up some of the slack for Borash, possibly, which is not a bad idea because, Jimmy Jacobs is great at that, but he could also do a little bit of commentary, I'm sure, helping out Josh Matthews. But this puts all that pressure for the commentary stuff, too, for Josh Matthews to take the reins, which I'm sure he's thrilled about. But I just, it also makes you wonder how well it's going to go off from that point of view as well. I mean, I don't know what you guys think about that.
There's a couple interesting reports floating around out there that Impact's sort of having to reshuffle things because they were planning on moving Josh Matthews to a more on-screen role, and they were going to have Borash do commentary with Don Callis, but that has seemingly gone out the door now. So lots of, I guess, reshuffling as far as all that goes creatively and what they're going to do with that. But it seemingly has thrown a wrench into their plans, whatever they were going to be.
Mm-hmm. I can't say, though, I'll be honest with you, and Sean, you may agree with this from the fact that you've watched Impact over the years and you've kind of seen some of the decline and some of the things they've gone through. And I look at this and think to myself, really, for them to be something different, they've got to clean house. They've got to be new. They've got to bring in so many new faces that we don't recognize it. And I think without a choice, they're kind of getting that. And I hope for, in a way, this does end up helping them more than hurting them. I don't know that's the case, but just taking away even the voice of Impact Wrestling, to me, it's going to definitely feel like something brand new.
Yeah, definitely. It started with taking away McTenay, and then you had Mr. West back for a little while, and he still does the shop whatever TNA thing at times. But I think for the most part, this kind of lets everybody know, all right, it's Josh Matthews and whoever else they get in there. And now it really feels like a different product than, you're not seeing as many of the old guys, if at all. It's pretty much brand new people, and it feels like a different promotion. And I think that's good for them in a way. But I also think you're hitting that bottom of the barrel, too, and people may just not care and just go, all right, all the people that I really cared about that were with this company left, and none of these new people are really grabbing me, or the people that have stayed around that I really cared about. So, other than the, Impact diehards, which I don't know how many other people besides Impact diehards watch this show still, may just get turned off completely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right about that. And there's a yin and a yang to everything, and I think it just worries me that Borash leaving could be more of a detriment, but I don't know that. They've got some great people still involved in that company, so I'm not going to say he was the soul of it or anything, but I think he was a big part of it. So they are reshuffling, doing all those great important things that they're going to have to figure out to get this thing, keep going, and creatively what direction they want to go with their talent. But it makes me think back, and from your point, Sean, it makes me really think back when I was a young guy, and of course, like I always talk on the show, I was a big WCW Nitro guy, always watching Nitro, tune into WWF Raw whenever I get a chance. And I remember going to a family member's house, one of my great uncles, and he said, hey, we're going to go do something. You want to watch something? And he turned wrestling on. And, I didn't even tell him I liked wrestling or anything. He just turned wrestling on. What was ECW? And I'm sitting there watching ECW, and I really didn't know anybody on ECW. This is, way back. So, I just kind of halfway paid attention. And I wasn't that interested because I didn't know anybody on ECW. And looking back at that now, I'm kind of embarrassed to even say that. But that's the truth. That's who I was back then. And I worry that about being the same thing we're going to get here now with Impact, because they are losing a lot of those names that we've seen with WWE, right? A lot of those people that you could kind of say, oh, I remember that guy from this time period in WWE. Now they're losing everybody in that frame of mind. And if these young people don't just like wrestling, this could be something that slowly really does decline. So let's see how this goes. Jeremy Borash, once again, joining WB. I wish we had more insight on what exactly his role is going to be, but I'm sure that will come in time. So, Let's move over and talk about somebody else that joined WWE recently, and that, of course, is, well, you know him by Rockstar Spud, but they are calling him Drake Maverick. Yeah, that's right. He was just revealed on this past episode of 205 Live as their GM for the Cruiserweight division. And, I mean, I've been waiting to see if this was going to actually happen. I remember all the rumors that they were kind of going out and saying this, but I wanted to see it actually take place. It took place. Paul, it's kind of funny. We got a little of that reaction from the Philadelphia crowd calling him Rockstar Spud, but I just want to know, what you think about the debut and, how you feel he's going to work out here.
We went through a list of names, you and I, whenever we did that episode of 205 Live and Mixed Match Challenge with Harry and Brandon a couple weeks ago, and I don't think Spud was on anybody's mind. He certainly wasn't on mine. So this was kind of surprising to me, but a welcome one. We've seen Spud succeed in a lot of different roles as far as talking goes, as far as being a character goes, and that's all you really need from a GM, and if he happens to step into a ring at some point, he can at least hold his own there too. So I like this signing. I think it's interesting. I don't know if it's going to make people watch 205 Live or not, but if he can certainly grow into the same character he was serving Madam Dixie as the boss now, I think he'll be at least on the way to getting some more people involved in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see him. I wonder why they had to have Brian come out with him instead of having him have his own entrance and everything else. I guess maybe they were worried about people not knowing who he was, but they certainly knew. I mean, he got Spud chants and everything, so that's good for him. I'm glad he has a role that works for him because, he was an okay wrestler, but he was never anything like let's all go crazy about it. And I think this role fits him much better. He can talk, which is his, best role. I loved his pal EC3 giving him some props on Twitter as well about, hey, you never know who you're going to meet, when you go somewhere else. And that's just really cool that he's there. And who would have thought?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right. And, this is, going to be new to a lot of people, like you said. And then, people are really kind of looking at him like, okay, what's the big deal? But, for those fans that did watch Impact and really do kind of understand what he's about, they have a lot of hope for this guy and kind of are excited like me. I mean, personally, I think it's a great choice. He's got comedy. He's got seriousness about him. He's got a lot of different variations that he can go into, right? So that character is very well rounded, and I think it's going to work out great for the 205 Live brand in general. And not only that, it's just nice to see, a new face. It's kind of funny to think when, you mentioned this, Paul, that we all were going through a laundry list of different people that could be in. We were naming old legends, current people that are a part of the WB roster, just throwing out different names. But this was really never one because, well, it's a new face. And so this, edition, I think, is a good deal because I think it's going to change some things up. I think it's going to be a change of pace, and I don't think it's going to take long for people to fall in love with Rockstar Spud or Drake Maverick. So, I mean, I don't know if you agree, but I just on this first episode, I felt like he fit in just fine. I don't think he felt uncomfortable at all in that role, and it looked good to me. So I was really happy with it.
I enjoyed him. Like I said, he's very well spoken and all of that. So he's got to catch some attention though, right? Like he's got a very large uphill battle against him, being on essentially a show that very few people care about. So that's going to take some work, and if he can ingratiate himself and become a great character, then that's just another boon for the show that they really could use.
Yeah, they definitely do, need some of that for him, and I'm really hoping that he does find his way. Once again, I mean, 205 Live is something that we've kind of had a lot of struggle with because the ratings haven't really been there, and let's be honest, some of the content on there has not really been up to the par that we wanted it to be. But if they are heading in a new direction, and if it's anything like this past episode of 205 Live, I'm on board because I think this last episode of 205 Live, they knocked it out of the park completely. 2 big matches that really mattered. It felt like the Cruiserweight Classic all of a sudden started over again. And then you got a GM who comes in and is important to the show for the fact that he's planning things, he's ready to go. So let's just hope that it all works out that way, right? Let's hope, that it goes the same way and they don't change things back to the way they were.
Right.
So. Enough about Drake Maverick. As much as we love talking about him, let's go ahead and talk about some other people here. Let's talk about the fact that it looks like WrestleMania 35 is heading back to MetLife Stadium. Yeah, that's right. It could be back up there and really a done deal, it looks like, for next year. I think, Sean, MetLife did fine. It was, very, great when it came to ambiance and all that. I don't have a problem with it, and I understand that they want the Northeast to have another big show. So how do you feel about it?
I still think Philly would have been better, just because you haven't been to Philly in a long, long time for WrestleMania. So I just think that's. I get they want the big stadium, but Lincoln Financial Field's just as big, and it's a place you haven't been to. I still don't know what Minnesota did to piss them off. That's a brand new stadium. It'd be beautiful to have WrestleMania in there, and you're going to a more Midwest part of the country. I get it. It's a round number. Perhaps it has something to do with the whole, going back to the older days of trying to have the round numbers in the New York area or something like that. But it's just, I don't know. I kind of would prefer them not going back to the same places every 5 years or so like that. Just try to go to newer places. I know it's about bidding, but Philadelphia bid as well. Detroit bid as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't care personally because I'm not going over to New York for something like that. But I guess it's cool with the people that live there, like people that are from there or live close there, like Brandon or another guy on our staff, Steven, that could actually go. But I don't know. I feel like Philadelphia, you could have a lot more people going.
So they haven't done WrestleMania in Philadelphia since 15, and they did, obviously, MetLife Stadium back at WrestleMania 29. You do some math there. Something's not equaling out, to be fair. But, I think it really does matter now what you put together in a bid. I mean, this is the reason why they went back to New Orleans so soon, was not only because of what they were offering, but because they were going to make them a part of the celebration of the city and give them all this huge publicity and everything they were going to do that weekend and all this other stuff. So I definitely think it's how you bid now. Because, WrestleMania, we see it every year now. It brings tens of thousands of people to a city, and they're there to spend a lot of money because, you've already paid a lot. So I agree. I think I would have preferred one of the other two that were in the finalists, but it's New York. There's already, I think, an allure every time they're going to make a bid for WWE to be there. Not saying I like it, but I see where they're coming from. It makes sense, and you just got to wonder now what it's going to go in all these bidding packages going forward. That's that's going to keep these guys coming to these cities.
Yeah, I think you're completely right about that because WB, when they first initially brought this up of the bidding, they wanted to be like the NFL. They wanted to be focused on, they want you to come to them instead of them coming and saying, okay, where can we rent? They want you to make the biggest sell. That way they can just walk in and they are open arms to whoever's, got the winning bid. So it's not a bad business plan. It's actually really intelligent, but you're right. And Sean, you bring up some good points there because, it really feels like the same, okay, here, let's go to the same place again. I would love to see Minnesota get it. I think that'd be great. I'm sure Jesse the Body Ventura has a reason why we're not going to be seeing WWE there. And there's some other places around the country. Well, Jesse has always got those controversies around him. He probably I'll sue you events or something. Anyway, so there's all these other places that we could go in the country. And my goodness, you could even stay in Texas and go to Houston, right? And go to some of those other places that have big stadiums. I just don't know when we're going to get a chance to see these other places win these bids. They're really going to invest a lot. I think Detroit really wants it. I think that their economy really needs it, and they would love to have them back. But it's just, can they offer as much as places like New Orleans? I just don't think they can right now. And that's what's a little scary about this whole thing. Really, how much can people offer, and how far is it really going to go? Are they going to have to name John Cena as mayor to get the WrestleMania there? I don't know. I'm sure Kane would love that, because Kane could be mayor of not only in Tennessee, somewhere else. So I don't know, but it's going to be kind of interesting to see where they go even past next year. Mm-hmm. But if MetLife gets it, it's still a good venue. There's no argument against that. It's just that we would like to see some different places. And hey, if they stay in this vein of every 5 years the same places, hey, I'd love to see Dallas get it again sometime in the near future. So
I agree.
Who knows? So. Let's talk about sadly, some injuries here in WWE. One is Jason Jordan. Now, we've been talking about Jason Jordan quite a bit here. We've been talking about that back injury. Well, we're getting a little bit more information, like always. Time passes and a little more gets leaked out here. Apparently, he's dealing with a neck injury as well. And the neck injury has really affected him. It's more about the neck than it really was the back. And the biggest reason why WB has had him limited and not really in the ring is because he's having problems with his grip, which is not a good thing, especially when you're an active wrestler or just in life in general. Mm-hmm. So they are trying their best to keep him safe, keep him protected, of course, and that's why this is going down, Paul. But this is a little bit alarming, because anytime you got a neck injury, you immediately think of who? Edge, Page, all these different wrestlers who've had neck injuries, and you just don't like to hear this stuff.
Daniel Bryan, to an extent, too. Yeah, anything that's affecting your grip strength means you got some damage, usually to your spinal cord, and that is not good at all. So it's interesting to me. It's got to be either very minor or not permanent or something like that, to where they can still keep him on screen. And it might just be that the story they're so invested in telling with this guy right now is it's just something they really want to do, and just going to hope that the injury will go away with time, and all the rest and all that will keep him from, I guess, exacerbating his condition or whatever. It's really interesting to me that if this is a very serious neck injury he's dealing with now, how he's still on screen.
Yeah, I guess as long as he's not taking big bumps, he'll be okay. Or they want to just get through this storyline that they're doing, mm-hmm. and see if anything changes in the coming weeks. And if not, then he might have to go do surgery or something like that, which would then mess up what they're doing. But yeah, that's always scary. The grip strength thing is one of those first telltale signs you got something wrong. Mm-hmm. And hopefully it's not really severe, but usually it doesn't wind up being a good thing for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, something that WB has to really consider as they go on, because there's so many of these superstars that they have in their roster that have injuries here and there, but when it comes to neck injuries, I just think that you have to be on their toes, really, kind of like head injuries, right? Because of all these big injuries we've had recently, they've got to be very, very careful, make sure they keep all their talent safe, and I think that's pretty much why you're getting what you're getting when it comes to seeing people off and taking time away. Even Seth Rollins himself is dealing with a back injury, and so that could be another reason why they're kind of changing those titles off them and maybe giving those guys a little bit more rest and taking them, to the side until, other people kind of take up the slack and they get healthy, but we're seeing this on the main roster, in NXT. We got Oney Lorcan also dealing with some injuries, and so this is not fun to hear or talk about, but this is just what happens. This is a sport just like any other one, even though, predetermined or not. These guys are really putting their bodies on the line every week, and the damage happens,
Too true. It really sucks to see Oney Lorcan sideline, too. Definitely one of our favorites on NXT there, Gary.
I know. I was really loving that tag team that he was a part of there, and him and Danny Burch, right?
Right? Danny Burch.
Make sure I said that right.
Yeah,
I don't know. I always screw his name up. Thank you. But no, also we had one of the Colon brothers have surgery too, or he's shoulder surgery, right? Which I'm trying to think which one it was now. But anyway, one of them has it. So we just got a laundry list of people that are going through a lot of stuff right now. So let's hope that during this time, we're leading into WrestleMania, his body gets healthy. Let's hope these guys get back to their normal self. So let's talk about some other big things coming up too. Let's also mention that, with these injuries and all that, they also have to deal with some other things coming up here, like, Daniel Bryan announcing a top 10 list for SmackDown. So that's something else in the news for WWE. Now, this is really kind of weird to me. I don't understand it completely on why they're doing this or what, but it's a top 10 list. Basically, all the locker room gets to vote on who they feel is, maybe the best locker room leader, who is, the most skilled and athlete, all these different little things to vote on. Shane McMahon, I believe Daniel Bryan, they don't have a vote in this, but they will be using this to their discretion, be using it to make sure, matches and who gets a championship match at times, I guess. I really can't wrap my head around it, though, Paul. To me, it's a little goofy.
It's like college ranking, but in wrestling, right? And instead of sending it to coaches, you're sending it to your peers and all that. And I get what they're going for, right? They're trying to do something to make, I think, SmackDown stand out a little bit more and make it feel different. And to that end, I think this is kind of interesting. I don't know if you need a college football ranking system in wrestling, though. It doesn't work for college football, so.
Impact tried to do this before. We've had other companies try to do this. As long as they can make this credible and make it work, then I'm fine with always adding a little sports element to your wrestling. I think it makes it a little bit more realistic. I think if you can make fans care about it, I'm talking about the casual fans, then I think it means something. It gives you an actual real convention to have storylines around, or to have your matches around. You can have this guy gets to move from 5th to 3rd if he wins, or whatever. Make it mean a little something, instead of having the WWE contrived reason why these guys are wrestling or whatever. Even your normal singles match on SmackDown can mean a little something now. Mm-hmm. And so that's always nice. But I guess it wouldn't be I could totally see WWE trying to add in the stuff that we see in college football to make it just even more crazy, because, hey, why not? It's entertainment. We can do it. But I also just have a fear of them going way too far with it, and it being too crazy.
Bring on the 14 playoffs is what Sean's saying.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's. Oh man, this whole thing to me is just. I get it, and it's a way to kind of get people to look at this whole thing and to think, but still, this is all going to be fixed the way they want it. And I kind of look at it like, when we got that whole Cyber Sunday, Cyber Monday, all that stuff. It's how it didn't work, and it didn't work because people knew no matter what they voted, it didn't matter. They were going to fix it the way they wanted to fix it. And I kind of feel the same way with this. This is really not going to be these superstars getting a chance to pick who they want to pick. It's going to be about what they're going to book, and there you go. So I don't know how much I can get behind it. I'm going to give it a chance. I'm not going to say that I'm going to watch SmackDown every Tuesday and say, boring, I don't care about the top 10. I'm not going to do that. But I'm just saying, I'm very leery of it. So let's see how it works. Daniel Bryan sure acted like he was super excited about it. So let's see. But yeah, guys, that pretty much rounds out everything over there on our quick hits. We've got, of course, some big things I'm sure will come out this weekend, and we'll probably find out some more details on these injuries and probably some more stuff even about Jeremy Borash. Who knows? But we are going to move on from here, and we're about to jump into some New Japan beginnings. And like I said, Paul is going to kind of break this thing down with you guys. Sean will be kind of going down the card and letting him kind of give his opinions on things. But it's going to be really fun to hear these guys talk about it. Also, don't forget we'll be talking some Impact a little bit later. Now let's talk to Japan.
King of Sport. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
All right, Sean, let's do this.
All right, so night one started with the Katsuya Kitamura series of matches he's been having, and he had looks like a pretty good one here with Mike Elgin. What did you think?
This is what you were expecting, right? It's quick, it's 8 minutes, it's two guys just hitting each other as hard as they can, and that's really fun, right? I mean, Kitamura gets a lot in here, as he has across the series so far, even though it's only second match. He got a lot in the first one, but he's basically not winning these, so it's almost just a chance to see what you're getting before he leaves, to leave a stronger picture in your mind of what this guy's about, and Elgin works well with him, so that might be something that New Japan keeps in mind when he comes back around.
Well, it's good that he got through this one, and I mean, who does Michael Elgin not work well with is, I think, sometimes the bigger question when it comes to New Japan, but good to see Kitamura just continuing to do well in these things, and I know this was one of the ones you were looking forward to, so going on in this series here, I don't know how much you want to talk about the undercard aside from that, but
I will say the undercard on night one is actually pretty entertaining once you get past this 10-man tag that's up second. Everything else after that has got something to offer. The Never 6-man tag team titles, I don't know if you really want to talk about that. It's quick. It's a good win for the Bullet Club OGs. Basically dealing with a rather formidable team, and I love Hanari so much. I really do. I thought he was great in that match.
Yeah, I mean, he's really embracing that New Zealander character that he's got going. So that's always great to see him continue to further that. And yeah, I mean, it's actually nice to see the title not switching hands all the time as well. So good for the Bullet Club OGs here. What about this? The Cody, Marty Scurll, and Hangman Page against Coda, Juice, and Finlay.
Still telling the story with Cody and Coda, I think, is the important part here too. Juice and Finlay, let's just face it, they should be a tag team going forward. I think there's a lot of chemistry there. This pairing or trio, as far as Bullet Club goes, could play a lot into what we're going to talk about later as well. But interesting to note here that Cody goes over to commentary when they ask him what he thinks about Kenny Omega. It's God bless America and God bless Kenny Omega. So everything seems great in Bullet Club land on night one.
Of course, they don't want to tip the hat here at all. And I mean, hey, Cody's still got to answer to the boss right now. So, moving on from that, of course, anytime you have Naito and Hiromu, it's usually a pretty good stuff. You got Naito and Hiromu against Yoshihashi and Will Ospreay. And it looks like it was a really good tag match here.
I mean, I don't know how many times we really need to talk about this, but you have Chaos and LIJ and any combination on the opposite side of the rings from each other, you're going to have a great match. And then that's what you get here. Naito working well with Yoshihashi, ends up putting him away here. Ends up putting Ospreay away with the low blow and a cradle for the win here. Hiromu, I really wish he won the belt at Wrestle Kingdom, but you get a nice little story here with him and Ospreay, and I think they're going to have a great match going forward too, and you get nice peeks at that throughout this as well.
Yeah, how about the prelude to the two of the bigger matches coming up on night 2? Kenny Omega and the Bucks against Jay White and Roppongi 3K.
This is another great match. This is fun. I think this is everything you're sort of expecting it to be. There's a lot of flying, a lot of sort of mat work here too, and it's more, I think, about trying to make the Elite look as strong as possible, and it makes more sense going into what we're going to learn at the end of night 2. But seeing White and Roppongi 3K on the same side of the ring, once again is interesting, even though they didn't play off it as much as I really hoped they would have.
Yeah, and then Jay White taking out Omega at the end too, just to make you think about the next night.
Mm-hmm. Omega would make him pay during the match of the second one, where I can't tell you how many V-triggers he hit on him, but one of them I'm pretty sure he almost leaped out of the ring to try to hit White in the face with. So,
and then the main event, these two know each other so well, and they delivered another fantastic match from everything here. Was it really that amazing?
I find it really, one of the reasons why I really like our partnership with 411 is Larry, because him and I usually go pretty hand in hand on what we think's happening in shows and stuff like that. And I think he nailed it on the head. This is definitely 4 3/4. Suzuki and Tanahashi, so great. This is so effective at making Suzuki look insanely lethal once again. Basically torturing Tanahashi until he finally, until he pushed him to the brink, and then Tanahashi would get a little bit in. Suzuki goes back to the torture method, and eventually Red Shoes has to throw it out, because Tanahashi ain't quitting, and that leg is about to get broken off, and then Suzuki's going to beat Tanahashi to death with it. So, better to give Suzuki the championship and save Tanahashi from basically dying.
Well, you get that with all the injuries going on with Tanahashi and us talking about he needed to miss time, I think this is a great way to easily be able to push him out of the picture, make Suzuki look great, and then you have a dominant guy as an IC champion right now. So anybody going against Suzuki, get ready, because he already showed you what he's going to do to you.
Yeah, I mean, if he's not going to kill you, he's got 2 tons of bullshit to come with him too, and Suzuki guns. So
that is true as well. But that's going to do it for night 1. Obviously, that last match is the big standout. But what did you think as far as a rating for that show?
This is a really fun show. Outside of the 10-man, which I would say is a little throwaway. Everything else on here is either pretty good to gosh darn great. I'm going 8. It's such a fun show. If you watch either one of the New Beginning shows, make sure it's this one. The whole show is awesome.
Well, there you go. Loving endorsement for night 1, and we move on to night 2 here, where Katsuya Kitamura gets to have his continuing series of matches, this time with Juice Robinson. You feel like it was on the scale of Elgin or better? Or?
I think I like the Elgin encounter a little more, but I think they play the size differential pretty good in this. While Juice might be taller, Kitamura is built like a shit brick house, and he no-sells some of Juice's offense, which you kind of expect, and I appreciated. And this goes longer, too, which is also nice. So, Kitamura kind of slowly working his way up the New Japan food chain here, and manages to get a little bit of a weaker opponent and look a little bit more competitive before Juice finally puts him away with Pulp Friction. And, I mean, it's good, clean fun is what this is. Fun for everybody.
Well, with Juice, everything is always fun, always bringing that energy. Mm-hmm. And another, good match for Kitamura here to continue to apply the trade. Anything you want to say about the undercard before getting into the bigger matches?
It's duller. It's certainly duller than the first night, which is why I would recommend that. The six-man between Cody and Marty and Hangman Page teaming up once again to face off against a different incarnation of a Kota Ibushi-led team was great fun as well. Definitely, I think, a bit of a tide turner between everything. And, of course, Page picking up a strong win here is going to sort of tip their hand going towards some other things as well. But, I really like this. They're kind of pushing Page a little here. And, the Cody Kota stuff continues to sort of play off in the background.
Yeah, certainly. Always good when you can push some of the lower guys. And Bullet Club, a lot of times it seems like you're paying attention to the same folks every now and then, especially since, Cody's come in and everything. So that's good for a guy like Page to get something out of this.
Absolutely.
And just now you get the two big matches here and two title changes. Mm-hmm. I felt like the Roppongi 3K one was coming, and it did. And then you get the biggest surprise, which is Jay White dethroning Kenny Omega. What a moment for the man.
This, the Roppongi 3K Young Bucks match is absolutely incredible. You sort of get a lot of playoff of what you got at Wrestle Kingdom, but then they sort of evolve all of that and tell a great story throughout all of this as well. I was expecting more flippies. That was not really so, as it was more back and arm work across a lot of not only Roppongi 3K, but as well as the Bucks. And 3K manages to kind of get a bit of a fluky victory. I mean, it's a roll-up off of a sharpshooter, so I would say that maybe this still isn't over going forward. And it's obviously not like they have a lot of choices as far as junior tags go either. So I love Roppongi 3K. I don't have a problem with this. I was just kind of expecting the Young Bucks to sort of get another one over on the Young Guns here. But this Kenny Omega Jay White match is... I like this better than the Tanahashi match, if you ask me. Obviously, Kenny Omega is not plagued with as many injuries as Tanahashi is. Jay White hasn't found, I think, that connecting point with the character yet. And like I said, I think it's going to take time for him to sort of pull it all together, and that's fine. But I don't know if this was the right move, honestly. I think I maybe would have preferred Kenny to drop it to somebody else, but taking a chance on Jay White with the U.S. title while it's still young, I think it's a great way to keep a spotlight on him, and that's clearly what they want to do. But everybody about this, is talking about the post-match stuff. So let's go ahead and dive into that.
Yeah, certainly. And I think the post-match actually might make the whole thing work more because it bleeds into the Jay White saying that, he was going to be the one causing all this trouble between the Bullet Club. He was there to make them a problem, have issues. And he did that just by having this match go down the way it did. Adam Page shows up to sort of look like he was going to challenge Jay White, and then Cody shows up. Hey Omega, you lost, and then Marty and shows up. Cody and Kenny continue to argue as they have been, and Cody's like, "Look, you are not acting like a leader right now." Matt Jackson shows up. He tries to hold Kenny down. Kenny shoves him down. The Bucks leave. Marty wants Kenny and Cody to figure this crap out. And then, Omega and Cody get into it again, and Cody just lays Omega out with a nasty-looking crossroads. And then Marty and Paige show up. Marty doesn't know what the heck to do. Cody's getting a chair. And who do you know? The favorite old friend, Kota Ibushi, comes in and makes the frickin' save. Bullet Club is gone. Ibushi just wants to shake hands, and Kenny's like, no, we're too good for this. We gotta give it that hug. We're bros. And everybody goes insane for this moment in the crowd, on the internet, all in unison at the same time. It's magical. It's like the bromance is happening right in front of your eyes, and you just don't know what to do but like cry along with them.
I mean, the second they start the hug, the confetti bombs go off, the crowd is losing their mind. It's a terrific scene. If you follow these guys from DDT to here, you know them as the Golden Lovers. They've had runs as the IWGP Tag Team Junior Tag Team Champions, as well as the KOD Tag Champs over there and DDT. Boy, this was nice, and a lot of people are thinking that, clearly the Bullet Club is fracturing before our eyes, and they've been laying the seeds for this for a while, whether it's been Tama Tonga, whether it's been Cody, or all this other stuff, and Kenny's kind of tried to pull it back together a couple times, and we finally found the straw that's broke the camel's back, and everything like that. It's Kota Ibushi. You don't mess with that guy. And Kenny has clearly had enough, not only of Cody's stuff, but, basically out of everybody's, it feels like. The Bullet Club isn't what they used to be. I really like this storytelling device, just because, one, I think a couple of days after this event, Omega added another year to his New Japan contract, so that was interesting. But maybe more so is just where exactly the Bullet Club's going, because they haven't said anything. It's been mum's the word. Everybody's just assuming that Omega's out. And I don't know if that's so. I think you're going to get all these subdivisions breaking down where you'll have Cody and his group, you'll have Kenny and Kota, and if you take being the Elite as gospel, then maybe the Young Bucks will forgive Kenny and join up with those guys, and then you'll have the OGs over there on the other side. So this is kind of must-see TV, if you ask me, if you're into the Bullet Club stuff, and the internet shed a couple of tears, Sean, and rightfully so. Because I think Japan might have cried a little bit too.
Yeah, I think that was, like I said, the whole world felt the same on something.
That's true. I'm not gonna lie. I really wanted to see more of a feud, but if we're gonna tag up first and then maybe swerve it down the road or something else, definitely worth a picture. And definitely worth, this moment, because clearly the crowd was so invested in wanting to see it, and they finally got the payoff.
Yeah, certainly. I think this is going to be something that people are going to still be talking about for a long time. Mm-hmm. It's a moment. Like, we talk about WWE likes to make moments. New Japan just made one, and it's really cool when that stuff gets to happen,
It's really interesting, too, if you go back and look at some history in the other company that I was mentioning, DDT, that both whenever Kota was the KOD Openweight champion, he defended that title against Kenny Omega at the Nippon Budokan, and guess where they're going for the G1 final? And you got to think maybe that we're going to get that G1 final we did get last year with Kenny and Kota going at it, where they sort of at the old scene of the crime.
Oh, that would be so amazing if they do it.
So awesome.
Like, what a way to make everybody wait for a year and just, man, they're so good at that. It's amazing, honestly. But yeah, anything for a rating on this one here?
I think outside of your two title matches, the Chaos LIJA tag is also super great there as well, as there seemingly seems to be some bad blood brewing between Yoshihashi and Mr. Tetsuya Naito as well. Sonata getting under Okada's skin, and then, of course, all the Bullet Club shenanigans going on in the six-man as well as in the main event. Everything else is sort of passable, I would say. Unless you're into the, Kitamura's journey or watching other select people on the card, I would say it's skippable, except for the last 3-4 matches. So I'm going to go 7 just because of the quality, but I don't know. Just not as big a hit, I think, as the first one was.
All right, I think that's going to do it for New Japan.
All right, awesome, guys. And I just have to throw my 2 cents in. With this whole fracturing of the Bullet Club, it just makes me wonder when I go to Hot Topic, am I going to be buying a red and black Bullet Club shirt?
Oh, God.
So anyway, who knows? But we'll find out. But yes, that is New Japan. Thank you, Sean and Paul. You guys did a great job. And now it is time for us to move on and talk a little Impact Wrestling. We'll do that now.
All right, so Impact opens with us seeing a mysterious figure arrive. Shock gasp! Who's it going to be, Gary?
Oh, I don't know. It's so nerve-wracking. I think we found out like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
but
we
we'll play kayfabe until later.
The six-sided ring is also gone. We're back to the traditional ring, which I guess, depending on a lot of people's differing opinions, makes you happy or sad. I honestly, God, I never minded the six-sided ring, but I know a lot of people prefer the four-sided ring.
No, I prefer the four-sided ring. The six-sided ring just made me think, we're desperate, please pay attention to us. So I'm glad back to just the natural feel.
And then we open with the Impact Grand Championship on the line as new champion Matt Sydal defends against Falaba. Of course, we have done away with the round system in total now. And Matt Sydal comes out, your winner with a Shooting Star Press. Fun match. Falaba still didn't do a whole lot for me, but Sydal getting to do his thing is always entertaining for me.
Matt Sydal is Matt Sydal, right? He's doing something that, I think a lot of fans of his want to see. That's him hold a championship and get things going for himself. And, I think Falaba for what he is, he does hold his weight, sorry, pun intended, I guess. But I think he's got the athleticism for such a large guy, and I think he's kind of fun. I guess maybe I understand the point of view of the guy doesn't, really do a lot for most people, but I just think he does have his presence that makes him at least entertaining to me. So trust me, anytime I can see a 400+ pound man run like he does, I'm game.
He can move. I will give him. He's very athletic for how big he is. It's just the character and all that hadn't really done anything for me yet. So
yeah, and it probably won't. I'm sorry to say this, but I think Falaba is kind of where he's going to be. So.
Right. We go backstage to see Caleb Conley and Trevor Lee meeting backstage. Trevor Lee believes himself to be 5 steps ahead of everybody. He's got a lot in store for them, so I guess we'll just have to see what that's going to be. We then get KM taking on Lashley as sort of fallout from the whole American Top Team angle falling to bits last week for these guys. Lashley counters out of a pump handle slam, big spear, KM's down for the count. This was fine, right? I mean, it's nothing super big. KM trying to play hero for American Top Team, and obviously Lashley don't play that game.
Yeah, homie don't play that, right?
Yeah.
I love the In Living Color. Homie don't play that. Still to this day makes me laugh. Sorry, but anyway, yes, this match is okay. Like you said, it's really just kind of playing off of last week, and I think KM getting time in the ring is good because he needs it, and just didn't feel like it mattered a whole lot, and. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's weird to say this. Maybe it is because you didn't have all the other distractions, but it was okay. It was fine, and I think you do kind of see the transitioning of maybe Lashley of how he's leaving.
Right. We'll obviously have to see how this plays up to him leaving. But if this is going to be sort of how he goes out with trying to put KM over, then hopefully they do something really right with this guy, because I'm still not super into KM, although him trying to fit in with American Top Team was kind of entertaining. So
It's just weird to see Bobby Lashley come out without him talking and doing. It's just him coming in the ring, having a match, and just kind of going. Who knows? But yes, you're right. I think down the line, let's see what they do.
Right. We go backstage again. Joseph Park is on the phone with Grandma Jenny, and Jimmy Jacobs shows up and is like, "Look, man, things are going to get worse unless you bring out the monster next week." So he wants Abyss, or murder's going to be happening to somebody, I guess. And hopefully it's not dear sweet Grandma Jenny.
Oh, poor Grandma Jenny. But you know what? I'll be honest with you. I think I'd rather see that than Abyss. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to see an old lady die on screen, Gary. It's not Lucha, but...
But if it was, trust me, I'd be tuning in even more.
I would too. I can't even lie.
Let's be honest. We really want to see Abyss. I don't hate Abyss. It's kind of like Kane. That's been there, done that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, Abyss, Congo Kong, is that doing anything for anybody out there? I don't really think so.
Yeah, it's kind of the way I feel.
Yeah. Lashley says he's still going to do wrestling and MMA. Well, I don't know about that, buddy.
Yeah.
And then we get Laurel Van Ness taking on Kyra Hogan here. You know, this is fine. It's a little short for my taste, especially because I think this is sort of the first bigger look we've had at Hogan since she signed on, since we haven't seen her for forever. Since she signed, at least. Allie ends up distracting Laurel down the stretch. Miss Hogan, of course, gets the roll-up. That's all she wrote. This ends up getting her an Impact title, or a Knockouts title match, I believe next week.
That's fine and dandy, so she can lose. Okay. I don't mean to be sarcastic or anything, but this was an okay match, not bad. But anytime you get those distraction roll-ups, you kind of think to yourself, okay, they're pausing until they get to the next moment. Mm-hmm. And this is really about Allie. This is really about Laurel Van Ness. So you just already have it written on the wall. Why would it make sense for Hogan to get the title? And not only that, she's not a big name. So I think it almost spoils it for you right there. But, I think it's interesting. And it's just, I guess, just a normal way of kind of getting heat on a feud. And that's what they're doing.
I agree. Like I said, this being the first time to see Hogan, her getting a win over a champ, even though it's fluky, might tip their hand as to where they kind of want to go with her. I don't know. So we get to see the Mystery Man walk around backstage. Alberto El Patron and EC3 get an interview here, and it's sort of their usual stuff. They're going to face Moose and Johnny Impact in the main event. And Patron's trying to get EC3 basically to fall in line. And EC3 seemingly agrees with it by shaking hands at the end, but you kind of already know that's not going to go anywhere good.
Yeah. But before I talk about that, I do have to say this. I just now popped in my head. How could someone use the name Hogan? I'm sure I figured Hulk would have already sued for that. It's weird how they can use that name.
I don't think you can own a singular name.
He's Hulk Hogan.
Yeah,
he's about to run for Senate, and he's going to win, right? So I'm just saying that the Hulkster does anything he wants. I mean, so I'm kidding. No, I just thought that was very interesting. I've really, besides his family, it's kind of interesting to see someone else. But anyway, the whole Patron thing and EC3 thing, it always makes me want to turn the TV off when Patron talks. I'm sorry, I'm kind of past it.
I don't know if I want to turn the TV off. I'm certainly less interested when he's on my TV screen and talking, at least. I have very, very little interest in anything they're doing with this guy going forward. So, the only reason I cared was because EC3's on screen. And even then, it's sort of been a little dialed back recently on Impact.
Yeah. And once again, I think because the departure and all probably dialed back for a reason. But, I think, when you're talking Patron, I think they still want him to be a big deal and all that. But it also makes me wonder about his situation with Impact for the fact that we recently saw him blame everything on Paige. And that he really loved Triple H and the big nose man was sexy. So it was Paige who made him do all those bad comments and things towards Triple H. So I know, the jerk. But anyway, no, that's what makes me. I'm just saying, it's just so funny to see Patron sit here and do this, and you're just like, man, I just wish I could care. So,
yeah. We cut back to ringside here. LAX is here to gloat about winning the tag titles. They kind of joke around about Sami Callihan getting a sex change operation because they embarrassed him so bad, but the doctor stopped halfway through. This is fine, right? You have OVE show up, everybody starts talking trash, and they kind of say, you know what, for now, we almost, if we keep going like this, somebody's going to die. So let's try to put this away, let's put it in the past, and take a break, and then we can come back and try to kill each other later, essentially. So OVE leaves. This allows Caleb Conley and Trevor Lee to attack LAX with a pipe and a kendo stick and steal their flags. So, yeah, it looks like Lee and Conley are up next, too. I hope this feud does something for those guys. Trevor Lee is one of the more interesting people in wrestling, if you ask me, and while Caleb Conley has never done a whole lot for me in anywhere I've seen him. I think he's a interesting lackey for Mr. Lee to play off of, and I guess let's just see where this goes.
Yeah, I really do want to see, and I think it's interesting that, that they've got this going with LAX, but it only makes sense. LAX is the tag champ, so that's what they do. But I really was a little bit surprised that they were going to put Trevor in the tag division, but maybe it's what they need right now. Yeah, because, the X Division's going in a different place at this moment, and that's good, too. You need the X Division to really focus on some of the younger guys and newer talent that's joining Impact. So I'm totally cool with this. I think a new tag team is never a bad thing in Impact. And also, I will say it's kind of nice that they did kind of tie a little bit of a bow on this feud between LAX and OVE, kind of like what Sammy had kind of alluded to here. So it's good, and I am curious where they're going, and I think that's always a positive thing.
Exactly. I agree. You don't always get this kind of closure on a feud, even if it's just sort of a stopgap in between. I like this, so that's smart to me. We'll just have to, like I said, let's see where this goes. It's a little interesting. We go backstage again. Moose and Johnny Impact are interviewed. This was a little painful for me. I did not like this. Basically, they just run their opponents down for being jerks. However, they admit they're talented, and then say they're getting along. It's just Johnny Impact, to me, this isn't really what the character's about, is all happy-go-lucky getting along with people, Maybe it's just Lucha Underground coloring him for me, but
I think it could be to an extent, and they're really trying to make him like super baby face. You saw later on him giving sunglasses to a kid, right? I mean, come on, that's as big as you can get when it comes to baby face. So my point in all that is, once again, I mean, Moose he's trying, he's doing everything he can, and of course, Impact is being super. Not Superman, but very Captain America-esque, if he can be that. It's a little silly. So I think both promos didn't really come off overly great to me.
Mm-hmm. I agree. It's just kind of blah. We get to see Eli Drake and Chris Adonis talking about their celebration for this evening, and they have a special guest, which of course is the Mystery Man. However, nobody really seems to know anything about him. That's weird. And then we get a video package for Cage, which I'm super excited for. I will always take more Brian Cage on my television. He also had his daughter recently, too, so congrats to those two. And then we get the tag match. Alberto El Patron and EC3 teaming up to take on Moose and Johnny Impact. Almost 20 minutes here. This was good. You have Moose end up hitting a lariat on Alberto to end up getting the victory here. It's like I said, it's good. I don't know if it needed 20 minutes, but it was all right.
Yeah, I think they kind of went through the paces, kind of did what they needed to get done, right? And, this is really about, once again, like we just mentioned, setting up Johnny Impact, right? I mean, to get him going and to make him, have the special moment after he gets the hot tag and all that entails. And then the next thing you know, you do have Moose coming in to get that victory, and I think that's the nice thing about it. Moose getting the victory, they're trying to build him once again, and you don't always have to have Impact winning. But I'm with you. Nothing super special. You're just nice moment for the babyface team.
Yeah, and I mean, definitely need to capitalize on Moose beating Lashley, so I appreciate that too, because that should mean something.
Yeah.
We then come to our Facts of Life segment. Adonis is out here, celebrating first, and then he brings out Drake. Single-handedly beat Impact and Patron last week in the cage to, of course, stay champion and all that, and eliminate them for contention and all this other stuff. And then they start dropping hints about who the mystery man is. Oh, Eli, you're the greatest friend that's ever lived. All this other stuff, and you get some video packages here of Adonis being embarrassed on Thanksgiving and all this other stuff. And eventually, the mystery man shows up, and of course, it's Austin Aries, who says he's been out collecting championships. That Drake is saying he's the greatest man that ever lived, and he believes this to be false. All this other stuff. Eventually, he ends up getting Drake to create a title match on the spot. And this ends up going down in under a minute. Shotgun dropkick, brainbuster. All she wrote, Aries is your new Impact World Champion.
I have no problem at all with Austin Aries being the Impact Champion. Mm-hmm. He's been there, he's done that, and him to come back and do it again, it's good because, Austin Aries is a good champion. He really is. He's great on the mic. He has a lot to offer. Excuse me. So I think that's not the problem here. The problem here to me is the sense in this and the way they do it. And the reason I say that is because you would have thought at this moment Austin Aries was the champion and you had Drake with a briefcase. Because think about how quick it went down. Adonis, I believe it was Adonis who attacked Aries. I can't remember. One of them attacked the Aries. Aries is down, and all of a sudden, hey, I want to have a match with this guy. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to pin him really quickly. Well, why do you need to do that? You're the champ. Why do you want to have a championship match with a guy just because he's laying on the ground? Makes no sense to me. So I really didn't like that too much. I get it. It's a nice moment. It's something to pop the fans. It's a great thing to put on the internet. I just personally was not in favor of that way of doing it.
This is also somebody who Impact have been trying to build up into somebody. And at times, I don't think I'm the greatest example of a great Impact Wrestling fan, but, I think a lot of people got behind this guy. And to me, to suddenly just sort of throw him under the bus like this to Austin Aries, while it creates a feud, and you could maybe say that you didn't have anybody real credible left to challenge Eli, I don't know if I like shotgunning it so quickly to Aries. But, like you said, Aries, it doesn't read like somebody who you're bringing in straight from WWE, right? He came into Impact first. He's got a lot of history with the company. He's a former champion for them, as well as you mentioned already. Done a lot for this place. And, it's not that I have a problem with Aries winning the championship. I don't know if I like the fashion and how they did it. Especially as somebody who they tried to build so long, and seemingly have just sort of tossed that aside. I don't know. But that's your episode of Impact. I mean, I don't know if you wanted to speak on anything of that, Gary, but...
No, I mean, we're on the same page. Let's just be honest. We just didn't like the ending of that, and the way it went down didn't make any sense, but... I'm sure they have some things coming up, and they're going to continue that feud along. So we will find out later. But right now, at the moment, I'm like, whatever.
Right.
So I hate to say it that way, but it's the way they put it in front of me, and that's the way I've got to tell you. Mm-hmm. But anyway, we've got some other great things left to do here, and that is crown a Superstar of the Week, and of course, Match of the Month, the Superstar of the Month. So let's hop into that now.
Superstar of the Week.
Go for it, Gary.
All right, well, let's start this thing off, and let's really get down and dirty because we have some really good names here, and it's kind of crazy because I just want to let everybody know really quickly here. We had, of course, TakeOver Philadelphia. We had Royal Rumble. We also had that New Beginning show. So this was a very difficult week for us. It really was because we had so many names on the list, so many people that were really, honestly, very valuable and could have been on this list, but we had to make a determination, so we did it. So here we go. So the first point is going to go to Jay White.
Jay White beats Kenny Omega, Night 2, New Beginning in Sapporo, to become your second ever U.S. IWGP US champion. I think it's a pretty important title win for Jay White, obviously seemingly getting the spotlight and all that, even though I don't know if I agree with him winning it right now. But he did beat a very impressive champion and somebody who had made so many defenses, and we'll just have to see where it goes from here, but congrats to Jay White nonetheless.
Oh, definitely. Well, let's give 2 points over to Asuka.
Yeah, Asuka wins the first ever Women's Royal Rumble in a very fun match that was exactly as it was advertised to be, at least this one time when it came to making history. And even though her celebration sort of gets stomped on a little by Ronda Rousey, it still does not lessen the accomplishment any in our eyes.
Yeah, definitely. And she also had a big match on Monday Night Raw, too. So, you definitely got to give her some love.
Definitely the best match on Raw this week, too.
Oh, yeah, I agree. We're going to give 3 points to Nakamura.
Yeah, Shinsuke wins the Men's Royal Rumble. Arguably one of the best Royal Rumbles in the last, 10 years maybe. And certainly, I think one of the ones I've had the most fun with ever. Shinsuke already challenging AJ Styles too, which is great, and has a whole ton of people pumped going towards WrestleMania, as it should be. Their match at Wrestle Kingdom 10 was just absolutely phenomenal, pun intended.
Yeah, definitely, and that's going to be so exciting. Can't wait. All right, well, we got 4 points heading over to Suzuki.
Yeah, Suzuki captures the IWGP Intercontinental Championship by basically torturing Tanahashi so much that Red Shoes couldn't watch him suffer anymore. And that is definitely worth 4 points.
Very, very true. Oh, man, it's amazing. So, yes, definitely go check that out if you, like I said, haven't checked that out yet. And we got to crown our Superstar of the Week, which 5 points will be going to Cien Almas.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing that could top what Suzuki and Tanahashi did was what Almas and Gargano did at TakeOver Philadelphia. Almas wins the match, retains it, and it's just a spectacular match. Absolutely an early front runner for Match of the Year already. It seemingly happens a lot in January. So hats off to Almas. He absolutely deserves it. I can't forget that incredible Rumble run he had as well.
For sure. And, of course, that means that, Paul almost gave it away right there. Match of the month is going to go to Gargano and Andrade Cien Almas. Those guys just hit it out of the park. You got Dave Meltzer giving it the 5 stars. Sean, you had talked, we were talking about this off air, but it's kind of crazy to think that Dave Meltzer has not given a 5-star rating to a WWE match in 7 years. That is nuts. And what an amazing match. I don't know, Sean, if you thought the same thing, but it was great.
Yeah, it was a freaking great match. I mean, it was one of those that if it doesn't have you out of your seat, I don't know what you're watching or what kind of wrestling you like, but that was intense. It had everything. What a great story all the way through. And then just at the end, too, not even in the match, but the ending kind of just takes you all back to square one with Johnny and Ciampa. So, great stuff.
Yeah. Candace selling the whole attack there, too, was wonderful as well. And, boy, I mean, I don't know what more we could say about Almas and Gargano. Me and Gary talked about some on the NXT review this week. We have our review that we talked about on this match as well. It's so, so good. If for some reason you have not watched this yet, do so. It's incredible.
Yeah, and if you don't have the network, it's worth $10. Go spend the $9.99 and just watch the match, okay?
Yeah, I mean, make up an email address and get a free month. I mean,
yeah, there you go. Paul, you're not supposed to say that. No,
so many other people do it. We're good.
He allegedly said not to pay. Anyway, yeah, let's go ahead and crown our Superstar of the Month, and this one's a really fun one. Suzuki wins the Superstar of the Month.
Suzuki's Intercontinental title win here sort of puts him over the top of everybody else with, I believe, 6 points for the month. Really, he was great at New Year Dash. He was great at Wrestle Kingdom. He was great at New Beginning and Sapporo Night 1. I mean, Suzuki's great. He won the Rev Pro Tag titles with Zack Sabre Jr. as well, which is just might be the scariest tag team in existence.
Jeez. Wow. That is a pretty scary tag team. Oof. How could you defeat them? That's the biggest question. I don't know.
Don't let them touch you.
Yeah. There you go. Just run. How much stamina do you have? Just wear them out by running around the ring. But yes, there you go, guys. So that is our Superstar of the Month, Match of the Month, and of course, Superstar of the Week. So there you go, and that's really, really cool. But yeah, that also rounds out our show. We've had a really, really great show. I'm really excited about everything we did today, and of course, everything we'll be doing next week. We'll have a lot of great shows in store for you guys. Of course, episodes 1 and 2 of Wrestling to the Max 285. We'll be bringing those to you Tuesday and Friday morning. Also, don't forget, we have all our great review shows that we'll be doing. Paul and I will be doing Monday Night Raw. You'll have Harry and Brandon run down SmackDown Live and 205 Live, and then you'll have Paul and I come back for NXT. So those great review shows are there for you, and all the other great wrestling content that is to offer at the W2M Network. Go check it out at W2Mnet.com. Just go on there. You can find all of our great podcasts. W2M Network has so many different wide array of opinions on wrestling. So please go check out all the podcasts. Of course, there's also a great MMA podcast, MMA to the Max. You have all your sports stuff on there as well, with football to the max, soccer to the max, all that great content along with video games to the max, and the Ratledge Network is all with us too. The Ratledge guys do great on entertainment, and that's all brought to you through W2M, and of course the W2M Network. Make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button over at Wrestling to the Max or the W2M Network to get every single thing I just mentioned and a lot more. And hey, give our friends over at 411mania.com, the last one on ProWrestling.com, a chance too. Those guys have some great content as well. So please help our partners in crime like they help us. So, well, we are done. And of course, we thank you for joining us once again. Until next week, guys, if you are not living life to the max,
not living life at all,
you know it. The previous podcast is a W2Mnet.com original podcast. For more great content like this, go to W2Mnet.com for the worlds of wrestling, video games, entertainment, and sports.